Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Tuesday, December 12th, 2017, and you know what that means. It's time to get nerdy, y'all. Welcome to episode number 53 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the galaxy. I am Lam, also known as Mr. Nice Guy, and I have my comrade in gaming commentary here with me, the miggity Mac, also known as Maction. Now, Mac, we recently shared a phone call. Do you want to talk about that? I figure I'll let you tell that story.
Well, I think we can both share our respective bits of the story, but I'll set the stage.
Yeah, do it.
So, over the weekend, I ran to the store to grab some provisions, and while I was there, I do what I always do, Mr. Nice Guy, and that is stop by three sections. No matter what I'm doing at the store, there are two sections that I always stop by. For whatever reason. So if I go to get toilet paper, I always stop by electronics and take a quick peek at what's going on there. And I always stop by that Nerf aisle. Just so that I can...
You've got to, man. You've got to. Also, you referred to essentials as provisions, which I think is very endearing. I like that.
Well, thanks. I will attempt to endear myself more to you, Mr. Nice Guy. but yeah. So we get so whatever. And over the weekend, I had to make a quick run to the store, and of course, I did my usual and stopped by the electronics section, and I saw on the shelves one singular solitary SNES Classic.
What? I already know. I'm acting surprised, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
I appreciate it. So, I had a moment. I had a crisis, and I thought, there's one, and I haven't seen one on the shelf for quite some time.
Did some music start playing in the background? I'm curious what song would play in that scenario.
Ugh, gosh,
is it Never Gonna Give You Up, or is it more like da, 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 da. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone? What song plays in that scenario, man?
You know, I'm not sure what song would play in that scenario, but maybe Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. Pressure, pressing down on you, pressing down on me.
The pressure to buy that SNES Classic. So what happened?
Yes. So I did the only thing that I could do in a situation like that, and I called someone that I respected and that I knew would help me be strong. I called Mr. Nice Guy. I called you, man.
Who you gonna call?
Mr. Nice Guy.
That's right. And should I jump in here and tell my what happened on my end of the line?
Absolutely.
So I was actually just pulling into my house when the phone rang, and Mac and I text, we communicate, but we don't really talk on the phone. And so when he was calling me, I thought, oh, this must be something important, and it was. So I pick up the phone, I say, what's up, Mac? He says, I need you to talk me down. And I immediately was like, wait a minute. What is going on? Mac is a super happy guy. That's not a phone call you want to get from a friend. And I was like, what do you mean, Mac? And he's like, I'm in Walmart. There is one SNES Classic on the shelf. I need you to talk me down, soldier, right now. So I gave Mac a list of reasons why he should not purchase that SNES Classic. I'll list some of them. One, there's a lot of other ways that you can play those SNES games, whether it's original cartridges, whether it's a Raspberry Pi, whether it's emulation on your PC. I'm trying to remember the other reasons I gave you, Mac. The fact that Nintendo has purposefully made this a hard-to-obtain object through supply and demand that they have artificially deflated, I said, we don't want to support that. We don't want to support that. And what was your response, Mac? Did you end up buying it, or what happened?
No, I stayed strong, Mr. Nice Guy. You kept me strong. So after hearing this, after hearing all that, I said, okay, thanks, Mr. Nice Guy. I won't do it. And so I didn't. You kept me strong.
That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
There's strong, and then there's nerd strong. Two nerds in a pod. The strongest podcast in the galaxy. Mac, I don't think I have a story that can top that. So on that note, I say we do what we do. Unless you had more you wanted to talk about.
No, that was definitely the highlight of my weekend, talking to you.
Mine too, my friend. Mine too. On that note, I say we do what we do best and we hop right into the gaming news. What do you think?
Let's do it.
I was waiting for your approval. Fantastic.
Oh, yes, you have my approval.
Let's do it, guys.
My silence serves as tacit approval of everything you do, Mr. Nice Guy.
What I like to hear, guys. Let's hop right into the gaming news. Let's start with some Nintendo Switch news. This article, whoops. Did I just hop off the article that I was going to read? Well, you know what? I'm just going to summarize it. This article talks about the Nintendo Switch sales. Nintendo Switch, Mac. How many do you think that it's sold at this point? How many, if you had to guess, how many units do you think the Nintendo Switch has sold? It came out March of this year.
I'm going to guess 20 million.
That's a good guess, but it's also about twice as much as you should have guessed. It's actually 10 million. It sold 10 million units in the first 9 months. So let's read this article. This is from The Verge. It says the Switch continues to rack up strong sales, with Nintendo announcing today that the console has sold more than 10 million units globally in 9 months. That is up from sales of 7.63 million at the end of September. I'm not going to read all this. We know how much the Switch cost. We know when it came out. I looked at some comparison numbers, and there have been consoles that did better, but the Switch is doing really, really, really well, and I think it's projected to sell about 17 million by the time it hits the year mark. Now, here's the crucial question, Mac. When is one of those 17 million going to be sitting in your living room?
When I'm able to purchase it secondhand at a reasonable price, so that no money from my pocket goes into Nintendo's pocket. That's when it'll happen.
And we talked about this previously. I think you said on one of the earlier podcasts that the best time to find secondhand electronics is right after Christmas, right?
Yes, it's been my experience that people tend to spend in our very consumerist society. People tend to overspend on the holidays, and then after Christmas, when bills start coming due, or when children misbehave, the shiny gadgets tend to find their way to pawn shops,
or when they get that buyer's remorse right after the holidays. So we'll see what happens. Next news story comes from AndroidCentral.com. Mac, I got an Android story for you, buddy. I know you're not a iOS guy, but here's this story. It says, if you're a fan of J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, 2018 is already shaping up to be an incredible year. Not only is there another Fantastic Beasts movie coming out. Did you see the first Fantastic Beasts, Mac?
I've seen about half of that movie.
Yeah, what'd you think about it?
I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was interesting to see some magicking going on in the United States.
We make up words here, magicking, y'all. Magicking.
But some of the words that they used were kind of silly, like nomad instead of muggle. Just doesn't have the same. I mean, I would have expected there would be an equally cute word, that the US people, instead of being like, oh, there's no matches, that there would be, something maybe not quite as cute as muggle, but something that wasn't just
squiggles, something like that,
Yeah.
Something that a kid would say.
Yeah, something that seemed a bit more like that.
I feel you.
But I only got about 25, 30 minutes in.
It wasn't my favorite movie. It was okay. I like the Harry Potter movies more. But anyway, this article goes on to say, not only is there another Fantastic Beasts movie coming out, but Jam City has just announced its latest mobile game is Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery is an RPG title that will allow players to create their own witch or wizard and explore Hogwarts the way they want to. It's the game that people have been wanting, Mac. There's been games where you could explore Hogwarts the way that someone else wanted you to. Now these people are coming out with a game that will let you do it the way you want to yourself. It's the game we've been needing for our Android devices. You'll be able to take classes, complete and spell duels, explore the school, and even interact with iconic characters like Dumbledore and Hagrid. I'm not a big mobile guy. We know this. There's been some really good mobile games this year. I don't think I'm going to be into Harry Potter's mobile adventures, RPG-ish. Are you? You going to give it a shot?
Probably not.
What if it's free to play with microtransactions? Would that suck you in?
No.
Keyword with microtransactions, Mac.
Yeah,
Play
no.
to win,
I prefer paying for my game up front.
All right, fair enough. Well, yeah, I don't. If you guys are into that game, let us know how it is. It's not going to be my type of thing. Let's talk about. We got a lot of cool stuff this week. Let's talk about PUBG. Now, this is on Game Informer. It says PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is now available on Xbox One as part of Microsoft's game preview program. The people who write this say we loaded up an Xbox One X to see how the wildly popular PC game holds up on console. Can Leo survive and become the sole survivor? It says the frame rate isn't so great on Xbox One X, even with the console's additional horsepower. That doesn't mean the game's a bust. The gameplay is identical, even if you're using a gamepad instead of the keyboard and mouse. That seems to be a little bit of a sticking point for our hero Leo. As you can see in the video below, they have this video on Game Informer. Mac, have you ever played a game that was intended initially for PC but then ported to console? I'm trying to think if I ever have, and I'm trying to think how well it translated.
I feel like very often the RTS games tend to be designed for PC and then ported to consoles. And it's been my experience that the console ports of PC RTSs don't tend to be anywhere near as good.
Yeah, and now my thing is with an RTS, I feel like it can work, you know what I mean? But I feel like with a Twitch shooter, where you really are getting so much more precision from using a mouse and keyboard than you can get from using a controller, I feel like that's where games go to die, and I worry that that's going to be the issue with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. Now, if you guys listen to the podcast, you know that on Black Friday, I did purchase an Xbox One S at a ridiculously good price. Also came with an Amazon gift card. So I did purchase PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. I'm not opening the Xbox till Christmas, but once I do, I will let you all know how it is. I'm excited to experience that with my friends. We'll see if the frame rate and the precision that you lose when using a controller are really that big a deal. We got one more news story, and then we will move on to our next segment. This next one deals with one of my favorite games from the Xbox 360. This is a rumor from Game Rant. It says the publisher of the Battlefield series, Electronic Arts, has confirmed that a new Battlefield game will be released in 2018, though EA has yet to confirm any details about the game and what it might offer fans, including whether it will be a modern shooter or if it will keep the series in the past. EA may not have confirmed much about the game so far, but a notorious leaker has now spilled the beans. In a new video, YouTuber Almighty Dak claims that the next Battlefield game will be Battlefield Bad Company 3, following Battlefield Bad Company 2, which released in 2010. Almighty Dak's video shows all kinds of different clues and things that show this. Now, Mac, it's interesting that this comes out today because there was another news story about The Last of Us and how people determined from watching the trailers that the location of the game will be Seattle. Just based on the trailers and things. So I just wanted to point out that social media, YouTube, the internet, all of these awesome tools that we have are spoiling some stuff that we're not supposed to know until the companies let us know. And I'll end on that note. Mac, I'll turn it over to you, man.
All right, well, now that we've taken a look at some of the games that have come out recently or will be coming out in the near future, I want to take us on a journey back in time. I want to take us back, way, way back, all the way to 1976.
What?
A text adventure called Colossal Cave Adventure was released for the PDP-10 mainframe.
I don't even know what that is.
It was a computer about the size of a house, Mr. Nice Guy.
Wow.
And I bring this up today not because this is the anniversary of its release or anything like that, but because today I was made aware that there is a revival of this Colossal Cave Adventure that you can play on your mobile phone, but not in the sense that you can pick it up on say a what's it calls it? Say it on an app store or anything. No, but that you can play it. You can play that text adventure straight from your phone, via text. So if you text the phone number 1-669-238-3683 On the other side of that happens to be a cloud computing platform, whatever, that will keep track of what you are doing, what you are texting, and it will text you the text-based adventure.
I'm not gonna lie, this sounds mad boring. I'm just being honest with you. It sounds extremely boring.
Okay, well, maybe
cool
the classics aren't for everybody, Mr. Nice Guy. Maybe you uncultured swine.
I know how to read. I'm just saying I like some visuals with my games, Mac.
Well,
it's text-based. It's like choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventures are classics, Mr. Nice Guy. We can't even talk about this. There's too much of a disconnect here.
Moving on.
Colossal Cave's fantastic. Moving on to another text-based adventure game.
Are you kidding me?
No, I kid you not. This one released in 1993. Der Ring des Nibelungen.
You didn't even play this game, Mac. You did not even play this game. You couldn't even pronounce the name.
Well, I mean, it's text-based. Why would you need to pronounce it? So this is actually funny, in spite of the German name, because it's inspired by a German opera, right? This is actually an English. It's an English text-based adventure released in '93. But but the thing is, you're a modern-day person in this game who's fallen asleep while at the opera of the same name. So the game's name is the same as the name of the German opera. And so you fall asleep during the opera, and it's basically your dreams. You text-based adventure play through your dreams as inspired by the opera itself, which is really, well, it was a lot of fun. Although I don't think I ever beat it when I was young. I think I don't
you
recall.
played this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Nice Guy, you have to understand that I was not that I didn't have much in the way of computing power back in those days.
Okay, fair
It
enough.
probably wasn't until '95 that maybe even more earlier than that, but we had an IBM 386. But before that, we had some truly, truly low. I mean, text-based adventure games was basically all that we could play on the computer. But oh well, that is what it is. So, two text-based adventure games. Mr. Nice Guy doesn't care for either one of them. We will bring it home with one last one that does have some visuals. Doom was released in 1993.
Boring. I'm just kidding. Doom is iconic.
DOS.
I'm just kidding.
Yes, Doom, very iconic, and released in 1993. And as much as I'd like to kind of go on about Doom, what could I say that we haven't already said? I mean, Doom is a first-person shooter. It is certainly one of the. It was certainly one of the more gory titles that was available at the time. You were fighting demons on Mars. I mean, the script just writes itself, basically.
That's absolutely right.
So yeah. Anyway, that's what we have for gaming history. One thing I will point out is that December, there are some months in the year that we have where game releases in years before weren't exactly very plentiful. And this had several reasons, but before we had the ability to digitally distribute games, and before we had the ability to do a lot of hyping of games, online and, in things, we had these things called periodicals, or magazines, if you prefer. And so if you wanted to sell your games, you need to make sure that people knew about them. And pretty much the only way you could get your name out there of your game was to publish in periodicals. As such, you did have some time to build hype. You had time to get, to have reviews done. But you were really in in gaming history, you were really kind of a slave to the periodical cycle. And so if you wanted people to be buying their children games for Christmas, you needed to have your games already out in November. So we didn't see too many releases, but nonetheless, every week we're able to find at least a few that have certainly helped shape things. But anyway, just figured I'd throw that out there. Mr. Nice Guy, back over to you, sir.
Let's do this, guys. If you're just joining us here live on twitch.tv/2nerdsinapod, then you already know that this is Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the galaxy, episode number 53, which means we're 53% of the way to 100 episodes, and that'll be a celebration. But for now, time for our next segment, you guys. This next segment is one we like to call the Topic of the Week, where we talk about something that is relevant today in gaming news. And today we're going to talk about the Game Awards a little bit. It seems like every time I pull up the winners of the Game Awards...
Well, Mr. Nice Guy, weren't we going to talk about our 5 favorites?
Oh, we were! Dude, I forgot. I'm not going to lie. Should we do that right now?
I'll tell you what, if you'd prefer, if you want to talk Game Awards and me talk favorite indie games...
Let's do it, and then I'll talk about some of my favorite indies. I can't remember who suggested that last week. It might have been Pazzi. Somebody suggested... So. Just so we can give everyone who wasn't here last week some background, somebody suggested that we each list our 5 favorite indie games. So I'll talk Game Awards, get Mac's opinion, and then we'll talk indies as well. Let's do a double segment. We can improvise for these people, for the people, for the nerds. All right. So Game Awards. Let's talk about who the winners are. Game of the Year went to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think it's very, very deserving. Fantastic game. Best Narrative went to What Remains of Edith Finch. Trending Gamer Award went to Guy Beam, also known as Dr. Disrespect. The Game Award for Most Anticipated Game went to The Last of Us Part 2. Best Esports Player was Faker. Best Fighting Game was Injustice 2. Best Independent Game was Cuphead. Best performance went to Melina, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Juergens, for in the game Hellblade, Suina's Sacrifice. Best family game went to Super Mario Odyssey. Best RPG went to Persona 5. Best sports/racing game went to Forza Motorsport 7. Icon Industry Award went to Carol Shaw. I'm trying to see which other ones we want to read. Best esports game went to Overwatch. They also won Best Ongoing Game. Overwatch did. Best multiplayer game went to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and best action game, Wolfenstein 2. We'll kind of stop there. Here's my thing, Mac. The Game Awards, they're kind of considered to be like the definitive, I'm trying to think of how to explain this, the definitive winner, right? Or the definitive resource, rather, for which games were the best, right? But ultimately... there are many, many periodicals who are relevant but don't get a vote in this. My question is, should we get rid of the Game Awards and just let each individual publication say who their Game of the Year was?
Good question.
And while you're pondering, here's my reasoning behind it, right? There are advantages to having one definitive resource for the Game of the Year award, and it prevents every single game from making a Game of the Year edition, right? We get Game of the Year editions from games that have no business making them. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of really good games get lost in the shuffle because there's a hype train around certain games. So what do you think? Should we keep these Game Awards or should we get rid of them? What do you think, man?
With respect to your thing, Mr. Nice Guy, I don't think we could stop everybody from making Game of the Year editions, no matter what we did, unless we started really cracking down on it. So I think we're stuck with that. I also, as a side note, I also love it when games put those quotes about how awesome they are or how awesome their game is. And then they put like somebody's name, but there's no credentials with it. It's just somebody's name. I always have this moment where I'm like, am I supposed to know who this is?
And even if they have credentials, what makes their opinion more valid?
Yeah.
So else's? Right.
Yeah, there's lots of things. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track here.
My main issue with the Game Awards is that it fails to give recognition to so many of the games that come out in November, right?
Mm.
Every year, but a lot of those are annual releases. The Assassin's Creeds, the Call of Duties, and every couple years we get a Battlefield. But those games are probably never going to win Game of the Year because they come out too close to the Game of the Year awards. Additionally, a lot of games now, you don't get the final product for the first month, right? You're waiting on patches, you're waiting on balance of weapons and things like that, or balance of different materials. Sometimes microtransactions get taken away. I'm looking at you, Star Wars Battlefront 2. So things change.
Oh, really? You wanted the microtransactions?
No, I did not. I'm saying they should have known better, but they didn't. So anyway, that's kind of my thing about the Game Awards is they don't acknowledge those November games. I want to read one comment, and then I want to hear about Max Indies. There's a comment in the chat that says, I would disagree that the Game Awards are definitive. Each publication under it still produces their own independent Game of the Year. This is just a bigger platform to show off a medium to a greater or lesser success. It's an insightful comment. I can see that. I'll respect that opinion. But let's keep it moving, Mac. I want to hear your top 5 indies, and then I'll give you guys some of mine.
Okay, so what I have for you is I have top 4 indies. Is what I've got for you. But nonetheless, I will go. My favorite indies. I have to put number 1, the top of the list, Thomas Was Alone. Never before, and I contend never again, will we care so deeply for rectangles jumping around. If you have not played Thomas Was Alone, you owe it to yourself to play Thomas Was Alone. I think not only was it a very impactful and enjoyable game in its day and time, it is also still fantastic. Braid, definitely a great one. I liked how there were lots of secret bits to Braid. I beat Braid and then went back and found the little secret bits of story in there that make Braid even more enjoyable. But the game itself, very fun, it takes a lot of adjusting, a lot of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's really, really cool. I'll leave it at that. 20XX, I really enjoy this game because it's basically, even though it's sort of a spiritual successor to the Mega Man X series, it does Mega Man X, it took the essence of Mega Man X, turned it into a roguelite, and just made it quite brilliant. So I really, really like that one, obviously. And number 4, Minecraft. Definitely one of my favorite indie games. Now, of course, right now, Minecraft is owned by Microsoft, but naturally, back in the day, it was just a very small studio, and I bought it back when it was just making that transition from alpha to beta. So it was
cool, bro.
No, actually, it was very cool, and I would argue that Minecraft would never have been as cool without YouTube, and that there was a synergy there of accident and coincidence that allowed Minecraft to get insanely huge. And Minecraft would not have become as cool as it was if it weren't for all the attention and time that people poured into it because of the popularity that it gained from YouTube's, from the way that YouTube started doing its search algorithms at that point in time. So, I really enjoy Minecraft for what it is and what it was, but there's little doubt in my mind that it would have ever been as big of a thing if YouTube's algorithms had not, you could say unjustly, but disproportionately is probably best, had not disproportionately favored Minecraft, the thing. But you are right, it was before it got super big thanks to YouTube, but not too much more before it got super big thanks to YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
Either way, those are the 4 that I have for you. My 4 favorite indie titles.
Okay, sweet. Now, what's our definition of indie? Because I have some games that I'm debating. They're just like small downloadable games. Independent studio, or what's our definition?
Yeah, the bit that I'm putting on it is indie studio. Not quite. I mean, it doesn't have to be a one-man team. A one-man game dev like Stardew Valley, one-man game, one-man team. But it could also be maybe small studio, but certainly not big studio. So
Okay,
if
sweet.
it's looking like 20 or more employees, we should not be calling
Oh,
that
okay.
indie.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. I'll tell you what. No AAA developers. There we go.
Okay, sweet. Well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna list some of mine, and one of them is Gotham City Imposters. Now, I don't know if any of you ever got
Okay.
the opportunity to play this game, multiplayer only, absolutely fantastic. I put so many hours into this game on Xbox 360. So many cool weapons. You're basically like vigilantes effectively. There's teams of bats, there's teams of jokers. You're using homebrew weapons, battling in the streets in this game. Not like super good graphics, but just a fantastic multiplayer experience. They put out more DLC, they put out more weapons. They kept the game going for a long time. Eventually it went free to play on Steam, because it was kind of losing its audience. But man, if they could revive that game somehow, I would buy it in a heartbeat and play it hours and hours on end. Another one, Mac just put it in the chat, one that I was going to list as my next one, which is Bastion. Now, to me, this game is the full package, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful graphics, fantastic gameplay, very responsive, but the best part is the narration. The voice acting in Bastion, of the guy who is narrating the game, is absolutely amazing. People say they'd want Morgan Freeman to read them a bedtime story so they could go to bed. This guy's voice was even better in Bastion. Very, very good game. Lots of upgrades, lots to do. Just a fantastic game. Mac, you look like you want to chime in here.
Yes. So Logan Cunningham is the narrator in Bastion. He also, what did he also do? He was in this series called Resonance, from Wadjet Eye Games that I really like. And yeah, he did a fantastic job in that as well. He played he played the grizzled detective character whose name is escaping me at the moment. But he was also in that. I think he was in Transistor as well,
Ooh,
which is
really?
which is another game by the same company. But
Yeah. Wow, I have
anyway,
Transistor and I haven't played it. Are you sure he's in it? Because I'm going to go play it if he's in it.
pretty
He
sure.
made the game. He made the game. What it was. He made it great is what I'm trying
Oh,
to say.
yeah. He definitely did. But I don't know what his role is in Transistor, for I have not played Transistor either.
Interesting. I
It's
think it
on
was
my list, though.
Yeah, I think it was a free PS Plus title a while back, so I think I have it for that reason. Anyway, I got a couple more games. Limbo, I gotta have on the list as one of mine. And oh man, I'm gonna forget my other ones. I had Limbo. Oh my gosh, what was the other one? Anyway, let's talk about Limbo for a minute. Fantastic, little bit of platforming, a little bit of puzzle. Graphics weren't the best, but really, really solid regardless. Dark, dreary world, fighting your way through it. Great, fantastic game. You know what? I just remembered what game I'm going to add. I'm going to add Deadlight to this list. Mac and I saw this game at E3 one year, and I remember I was sitting in line playing it because it took place in Seattle, so I was super hyped. That's where I grew up. And eventually Mac tapped me on the shoulder and was like, dude, there's a long line of people behind you waiting to play this game. I think you should give them a turn. And I was like, no! But I did, because I'm a nice guy. That's why I go by Mr. Nice Guy. Last game that I will put on here. Oh, the other one I was going to say was Axiom Verge. I'm doing more than 5. Axiom Verge. Absolutely fantastic Metroidvania game. Mac, get it when it's discounted, man. You'll thank me later. And my number one indie, I'm going to go with Cave Story. You know I love me some Cave Story. That is a game that was created by a one-man team. The music is very endearing. The character you're using is very endearing. There's upgrades to your guns. There's text. There's a story. Just a beautiful piece of work for someone who put it together all by themselves. Nicholas is his name. Nicholas is how it's actually pronounced. That's my list, Mac. You got any honorable mentions you want to throw out there, or should we stop there?
No, I think that's good.
Sweet. That has been our topic of the week and our top 5 or so indies. Mac, I'll turn it back over to you, man.
All right, so the next thing we want to take a look at is a crowdfunding project. We call this Kick or Kickstart, and we encourage those of you who are here with us during the live recording, as well as those of you who are listening to us on your commute, to just chime in when we open it up for comment. We are tallying the results from here. So I'll present a Kickstarter, a video game that is seeking funding. We will take a look at it. We'll discuss some of the virtues, some of the vices, and then at the end, we will give our deliberation. Now, this is called Xenocrisis. It is, as it says, a new game for the Sega Genesis. So this game is being developed by a small studio in Southampton, UK. It's Bitmap Bureau is the name of their group, and it's the first one that they've ever done on Kickstarter. But between when I took a look at it 2 days ago and now, it is now a mere $200 from their Kickstarter goal. It very much cites as its inspirations things like Smash TV as well as Alien, because
Dude,
you are very much.
Smash TV is so good. I have that on the Raspberry Pi. It's good.
Smash TV is actually not a game that I ever particularly enjoyed, Mr. Nice Guy. I know if this ends the friendship, I understand.
It's just a simplistic blow stuff up game. I like it. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
I've got to admit, the thing that has always kind of troubled me about Smash TV is the control scheme. I'm not a big fan of it. It's just tough for me to control. I dislike the way that Smash TV controls. So it was
popular during the time. There was another game called Robotron that was very similar. It was just a popular control scheme at the time.
Mm-hmm. And they also cite this as well as being among their inspirations. So you probably at this point have a pretty good idea of what it looks like and potentially what it plays like. It's very much going to be a sort of newer version, updated version, but done with the same limitations as the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive, because they are going to be releasing it for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. You'll have a couple of options. If you want the actual cartridge, you can back at a level that will get you a cartridge to plug into your console. Or if you would rather, you can go ahead and just back at a level to get your hands on a ROM. Now, one thing that is quite cool about it is procedural map generation. They say that before they even started to put out the Kickstarter idea, that they had already gotten their procedural room generation game down, and that all that they really have left is new enemies and level features, which is really just all that they're working on. So they've got some things that they talk about. They've got a team of a few people, animator, sound guy, main programmers and such, and a variety of Mega Drives on which to test the prototypes as they go. So I really, really like that people are still making games, Kickstarted or not, crowdfunded or not, for older consoles, because I think there's still a lot to do. And honestly, I love it when people put constraints on their own stuff. They don't just go wild and design something in Unreal Engine 4. They don't just do things. They kind of go back to basics. They strip themselves of the tools and they ask, what can I do in this genre? What can I do with this? And maybe it's just because I'm such a big fan of video game history in general, but something like this just really suckers me in. Really just sucks me in. Yeah. Not suckers.
Yeah, my first thing I noticed about this is that these people who are working on the game each put their first and last name on here, which means they're really going to work hard to get this done, because people on the internet can be crazy, if you get what I'm saying. So looking at some of their gaming history, like, these people have worked on some legitimately good games. This one guy has worked on Shantae, Spyro 5, Contra 4, a bunch of really like legitimately good games that are kind of similar to the genre of game that he's making as far as being retro style. So I think this is obviously going to get crowdfunded, and I think it will be released. And I think it looks fantastic. Now, I'm always a little bit skeptical about people who are making games for retro systems, Mac. I'm not as optimistic as you, simply because I feel like they're limiting their audience. But are they also putting this out on current consoles?
No, I believe this is merely going to have, just release on Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, either as a ROM file or no, they are also going to have a Dreamcast version as well.
See, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I feel like that's shooting yourself in the foot. It's obviously a labor of love, but also labor of loves need money. Like, you gotta eat. $26,000 is not a lot for a team of 4 people. You know what I mean? When you're thinking about paying yourselves. So I don't know. I think that they should put this on the PS4 and the Xbox One and the Switch. Mm-hmm. And also releasing the ROM, shooting yourself on the foot, because people could just say, well, the ROM's going to just be out there. Someone's going to upload that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's the best idea. But I have my opinion on voting, but I'll let you go ahead and talk some more about it, Mac.
Well, for my part, the estimated delivery date of these things is October 2018. We will see. I always feel like with a crowdfunding thing, you should plan at least an extra 6 months at minimum from when they say you'll get your thing, and that way you won't be disappointed. It is $20, 15 pounds, in order to get a ROM. And if you want double that, 30 pounds or $40 No, that one's for the Dreamcast. 40 pounds or about $50, $55 or so if you want to get the cartridge as well. So 20 for the ROM, 55 for the cartridge. Myself, though, I do have a requirement, and that is if I'm going to support something, I need to have a playable demo. I just need to know that you've got the stuff to make it work, because anybody can put together a video. Anybody can move some sprites around in a predetermined fashion on a video that's supposed to show us how it works. But unless I can give it a try, I really don't know for sure whether or not I will like it and if I'll want to put some money behind it. I felt the same way, Mr. Nice Guy, talking about like we were last time around, talking about Mighty Number 9. It wasn't until you and I went to a game convention and I was able to get some hands-on time with Mighty Number 9 that I realized it was not for me.
Sidebar,
and so
Mighty Number 9 is $4.99 on the PS Store right now. Should I pick that up, Mac, or should I just pass?
For $4.99, I think you might enjoy it, actually.
Okay, sweet, good to know.
But as a quick sidebar, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was on Netflix. And you know what? That's for later in the show. My apologies.
Don't forget, though, because I want to hear about it.
I'm not. I'll remember. But so I've got that requirement. It does not have a playable demo. So I'm going to have to pass on this one and say kick. I think their heart's in the right place, but I've got to be able to try it out. And don't come asking for money unless you've got something for me to try. So I say kick. Yeah, and while Mr. Nice Guy tells us what he thinks, be sure to put your vote in the chat.
Put your vote in the chat. I am on the fence about this because these people who are on the team have made a lot of really good games, not together, but separately. Additionally, it looks like they did release one game together previously, so they know how to work and get this type of thing done. The playable demo missing doesn't bother me, but what misses me is that I feel like procedurally generated games are now being overdone. You think about, The Binding of Isaac. You think about Spelunky. You think about there's Enter the Gungeon, I believe, has some procedural generated stuff. There's just a lot of these games, and to put out a game like this, it needs to be unique. You know what I mean? Now, here's where it's a kind of a cool idea. if somebody, when the Sega Genesis was still like a hot item, had come up with a procedurally generated game, it would have sold like gangbusters. But nowadays to go back and say, you know what, let's make a retro procedurally generated game, it's not that big a deal. It's not as impressive. So I'm going to say, just due to lack of uniqueness, that this one should be kicked as well. I'm going to stick with Mac and say, kick it!
Yes, indeed. Also, on Pazzy does have something to offer on the subject of Mighty Number 9. He says if you throw your $4.99 in a bin, you'll get more enjoyment from it.
Oh, snap!
So, definitely not praise there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's what I had for Kick or Kickstart, and I wish them all the best. I mean, it's going to wind up getting funded whether or not we do anything. They've got 28 days left on the clock, and they are $200 from being fully funded, so it's going to be done, but just not with our money.
Did they have stretch goals?
Oh gosh, I don't remember the stretch goals, and I've already closed the window.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Well,
but yeah, that's what I had. So, Mr. Nice Guy, do you have a dummy for us?
I do, guys. It's time for that dummy thing that we do every week, where it's called the Dummy of the Week, you guys, where we talk about someone who did something stupid, idiotic, or downright dumb, and I make fun of them a little bit. This week's story comes from steamed.kotaku.com. I'll read the title. It says, "Guy invented a fake coffee shop to scam free games," developer says. Let's read the article. It says, "It's not uncommon to hear stories from game developers and critics of people posing as YouTubers, reviewers, or other outlets to get free game keys from Steam developers. This one, however, takes the cake with a side of coffee." That's what the article says. Jacob Janerka, developer of surreal adventure game Paradigm, claims in a lengthy Imgur post that someone posed as the owner of a fictional game-loving coffee shop, seemingly for the sole purpose of squeezing a few spare game keys out of developers. They went all out, apparently saying in an email to Janerka that their shop allowed people to answer video game trivia for coffee discounts in games. Thus, they needed some keys. Janerka, however, was suspicious. Why, he asked, is everything in English when your business is based in Ukraine? See, now, if you're gonna lie, you got to have some consistency with the language that your lie is in. You can't you can't do that. You can't say like, "Hey, I'm in China and I need some money." But really, I don't even know of an analogy that works with this. I just think it's crazy that this guy did this. Let's read some more of it. It says he did some sleuthing and discovered that the address of this quote coffee shop owner unquote gave him led to a plot of dirt in the middle of nowhere. Now here's another thing. You have to know that if you're emailing someone, that they also have the internet and that they're going to look you up and they're going to Google the address. So also, if you're going to make up a fake address, why would you make one up that's a plot of dirt in the middle of nowhere? That's the worst lie I've ever heard in my life. What else does it say? It says, in the middle of nowhere, and while a coffee shop called Baroda Drink does exist in a different part of Ukraine, it's in no way video game themed. So also, in addition to giving a fake address, in addition to having the wrong language, you actually chose the name of an existing business in your lie? This is terrible. It says the above photos of employees in the shop, as it turns out, are from the real Barodo Drink's social media page. Janerka says that the supposed scammer has since deleted their Twitter account and has not replied to his follow-ups. If you're going to put this much time and energy into trying to get fake game keys, just get a job. And that's been our Dummy of the Week, kids. Mac, I'll turn it back over to you, man.
All right, so the last little bit that we like to talk about is a fun thing called legalese. Legalese. And this particular one is sort of a recap of an ongoing one that has finally found an unfortunate but not so bad conclusion. You may have remembered that I've discussed having gone to the Salt Lake Comic-Con before, as it is the Comic-Con that is closest to me. Well, a little while back, the guys who started the Salt Lake Comic Con. Now, it should be noted that Comic Con, COMIC space CON, the Salt Lake Comic Con, not to be confused with San Diego Comic Con, which has Comic hyphen Con, or the numerous Comic Cons that are present all around the United States and in other countries of the world. But the Salt Lake Comic Con made two big mistakes. One, its inaugural Comic Con was, I believe it was ever so slightly larger or ever so slightly smaller than the largest San Diego Comic Con, which is troubling to San Diego Comic Con. Of course, naturally they can't be outdone.
Right.
Now, go for it.
No, I was saying right. I agree with you.
Oh yeah, right. So, but now in their filings, in the actual lawsuit that happened over the use of the name Comic Con, the San Diego Comic Con people cited that the Salt Lake Comic Con people visited the San Diego Comic Con and they had Salt Lake Comic Con written on the side of the car that they were driving. What? In and around Comic Con. So they were doing a little bit of advertising. There's no doubt about that. The San Diego Comic Con people say that that's why that they filed the lawsuit. Not because the Salt Lake Comic Con was clearly outperforming San Diego. No, that couldn't possibly be it. It's because the Salt Lake Comic Con people advertised, which seems kind of silly because every Comic Con advertises, but oh well, I won't go there. Not at all. So, this has been going on for a while now, and a jury has sided with San Diego Comic Con. On Friday, and this is very sad, they Friday afternoon they said that San Diego Comic-Con's trademark is valid and that the Salt Lake people used it without permission. Now, San Diego Comic-Con people initially requested $12 million in damages from the Salt Lake people, but were awarded only $20,000. In the jury ruling, the wording was that the violation was not a willful infringement of the copyright. Now, this very much is, and I very much agree with what Brandenburg, he's one of the organizers of the Salt Lake Comic Con, said. It very much feels like a draw in the sense that the San Diego Comic-Con people, sure, they got kind of what they wanted, but also they didn't get $12 million in damages, which, I mean, you just have to be a little bit mental to think that a Comic-Con in a city that is, let's see, 14 hours away from your city and held at a different time of year is costing you revenue. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think people like, should we go to the Salt Lake one or should we go to the San Diego one? We can only afford one.
Now, I will point out that while having never been to the San Diego Comic-Con, but having been to the Salt Lake Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con always seems to have teasers, trailers from new series, television series, and movies that are coming out. So, for example, many things like the Defenders, right? Yeah. Marvel's Defenders, as released on Netflix, was teased, and I believe, I think they showed the first episode at the San Diego Comic-Con.
That's a big deal.
And there's a lot of things like that. San Diego Comic-Con, at least in my brain, has a lot more to do with movies and television than the Salt Lake Comic-Con, which very much has more of a panels and such bent to it. But oh well, we'll just leave that here. But that being said, we will see. We'll see how it goes. The statement given by the San Diego Comic-Con read as the following, and I think this is where we'll we'll leave it here. Aside from saying that Salt Lake Comic Con will now be calling themselves the Salt Lake Fan X, which they do have fan experience, which they do have the trademark themselves. Yeah, but I'll close on San Diego Comic Convention's words. The San Diego Comic Convention has used the Comic-Con trademarks in connection with our comics and popular arts conventions for almost 50 years. We've invested substantial time, talent, and resources in our brand, resulting in worldwide recognition of the Comic-Con convention held annually in San Diego.
Worldwide!
The jury today upheld San Diego Comic Convention's trademarks as valid. The jury also found that, that blah blah infringed on the trademarks.
I hate when San Diego blah infringes. I'm sorry, Mac, for talking over you.
Sorry. San Diego Comic Convention respects the decision of the jury. From the beginning, all we asked of the defendants was to stop using our trademarks. Today, we obtained a verdict that will allow us to achieve this. For that, we are grateful. So, I understand they've got to do it because they don't want their stuff to become, they don't want their stuff to be their trademark to become genericided. But at the same time, when there's over 140 Comic Cons around the world, it's just a matter of time. So that's where we'll leave it. And that has been a little bit of legalese. But now, Mr. Nice Guy, now we've come to the end of the show. And we can talk about what we've been watching and what we've been playing. And we encourage those of you who are here with us to tell us what you've been watching and what you've been playing, because we are always looking for good recommendations for new stuff to try out.
That's right. Do you want me to lead off today, Mac?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So I've been doing a lot of nerdy video games and TV. So the main video game I've been playing lately, there's been a couple. Fortnite. Mac. It's awesome, man. If you get a group of friends and you play some Fortnite, it's free on PC, free on PS4, free on Xbox One. I'm telling you, Mac, and it has cross-play, dude. You got to download it. It's fun. Last man standing, battle royale, Hunger Games style game. I know you're not into the competitive multiplayer stuff, but since you can kind of squad up with 3 other people, have a squad of 4, it's kind of co-op in a way. You're cooperatively trying to eliminate everyone else from the map. Look at it that way. Has a little bit of a Left 4 Dead feel in the style. And then, there is actually a co-op mode that is not free, but that is currently in beta where you're killing zombies. So I would say download it. Try the Battle Royale mode just for fun. Also, we had the, House, if you didn't know that it was free, please try this game. It's the best free game I've ever played. And then I've been playing Monster Hunter. The Monster Hunter Worlds beta just was on this weekend for PlayStation 4. Freaking fantastic! Can't wait to get this game when it drops January 26th. Brought back some really, really good memories, although now we have it in HD and with voice chat that works. So I'm excited for it to come out on PS4. Ooh, what else have I been playing? Playing a little bit of Destiny, kind of fallen off since that ridiculous DLC came out. And as far as what I've been watching, dude, Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. Mac, do not Google Walking Dead.
Okay.
I'm telling you, unless you're caught up, I assume you're not. Don't Google it. Don't even do it. Don't do it. I'm telling you.
Okay, I'm not doing it.
I'm talking you down prematurely. Don't do it. Because you know how it is with the internet and spoilers. Really, really good last few episodes, I will say that. We're currently at the mid-season finale. So now we'll be back in February. Now, what else? Madam Secretary finished that on Netflix. All the episodes, done with that. I won't talk about it because Mac's watching it too. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, so for my part, what I've been watching, what I've been playing some Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. So Mega Man's 7, 8, 9, and 10. I've got this I've got this goal to be able to beat all of the Mega Man Classic Series 1 through 10 in under 1 hour each individual game. So I'm going to keep working on that. It's going to be a long-term goal. but I would like to, because, as you know, Mr. Nice Guy, over Thanksgiving, I did play 1 through 10, and it took me 20 hours to beat them all. I would really like to cut that time in half, and just, if I could beat every one of those games in under an hour, and I've been able to beat Mega Man's 1 and 2 in under an hour for a long time. I mean, long before I knew anything about Twitch, or even was doing any YouTube things, so like going way, way back, I was able to beat Mega Man 2 in like 45 minutes. So, it was just, I've just loved that game, have the most practice. Anyway, point being, I've been working a bit more toward that goal, so I've been playing some of that. Apart from that, I've been watching some Madam Secretary, and because Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was on Netflix, decided to watch it over the weekend, and I can safely say that I'm glad I didn't spend money to watch it.
Dude, I bought the 3D Blu-ray and I was like face palming after. It was like the epitome of mediocre, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I didn't particularly care for Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I came out of the theater just thinking, well, that's not my thing.
Now, have you seen the trailer for the new Avengers movie? Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have seen the trailer for it.
I feel like they are just throwing every single Marvel character into this trailer to promote the other movies. Like, they did it effectively when they had Spider-Man in the previous Avengers movie, but now it's like, okay, Guardians are in this movie, and we got Doctor Strange in this movie, we got Spider-Man, we just got everybody. It's like, it's just crazy. So, anyway. Anything else you've been watching or playing, Mac?
No, that's pretty much it. It's been kind of a hectic week, and that's all I've had time for, but that's it for me.
Sweet. Well, I say we wrap it up, unless you got anything else you want to say to these beautiful people.
Oh, you're beautiful, you're people, and thanks for coming around.
We'll see you guys next week here on twitch.tv/2nerdsinapod. Same bat place, same bat time, same bat rhymes. Hit us up on iTunes for old episodes and leave a rating. We love you guys. You're the nerdiest, best viewers on Twitch, and we'll see you next week. Deuces.